At the age of only 20, Craig Miles secured the 6th 5-wicket haul of his first-class career and his second of this season, as his Gloucestershire side had the better of much of the first day of the LV County Championship match in Bristol against Lancashire. Geraint Jones inserted after winning the toss against the second division leaders, and Miles struck in his 5th over, Paul Horton driving off the outer part of his bat to Benny Howell at gully. Horton was out for 4, and Gloucestershire would have been hopeful of making further early inroads on a pitch which had left a fair amount of grass on it. The home attack were held up though by Carl Brown, who produced his best knock of the summer, and Alvaro Peterson, both of whom were able to very slowly take the total up to 55, the 45-run partnership between these two using up 17 overs. Peterson had made 20 of those when he yorked himself, coming down the pitch to Matt Taylor and trapping himself in front of his stumps. Miles then got the big wicket of Ashwell Prince, a rare failure from the country's leading run scorer this year. He'd made only a single when he was beaten for pace by Miles. There was bad news for the host when their keeper Gareth Roderick headed for an X-ray on a hand injury. Not the first time he's suffered in his short career thus far. That didn't concern Brown, who registered a 50 off 99 balls after a string of boundaries, including this one, his 9th. For a while, Brown was backed up by his buddy Stephen Croft, who played the innings of the day. While most struggled for the most part, the acting Lancashire captain played some lovely shots and always looked at ease at the crease. This at the ground where Lancashire won promotion a couple of summers ago. Croft and Brown had just added 50 runs for the 4th wicket when the latter received a delivery from Miles which kept low. Brown was bowled for 57, leaving with his team on 106 for 4. So there was little to choose between the two teams at this stage, but Croft tried to push the second division leaders ahead against the only side to beat them in this competition this summer, Gloucestershire being a team under Richard Dawson and Ian Harvey, which has surprised many this year. Croft was closing in on a 50 when he lost Alex Davis at the other end, as he went in a very similar way to Peterson earlier on. Davis was gone for 11 at 147 for 5. 11 runs later and James Faulkner was also out, 100 on debut last week. He'd made 9 here when he threw the bat at a very wide ball from Miles and nicked behind to Jones, who'd taken over the gauntlets from Roderick. Croft's half-century arrived off 68 balls and it was reached with his 9th 4. It was his innings which was keeping his side's head above water, and he knew that he needed to keep going. That he did until he reached 65, his boundary count now up to 11. But then he got a big nip-backer from Miles to be trapped in front for 65 right on the stroke of tee, which was taken with Lancashire in a spot of bother on 190 for 7, the bowler able to celebrate his latest fifer and his 28th wicket of the championship summer. Lancashire are a side which always shows a lot of fight, and doing that for them now were Jordan Clark and Tom Bailey, a pair who were soon working well together with the bat. The visitors needed a partnership, and these two helped out by adding 49 for the 8th wicket before 2 wickets fell in the same Howell over just before the second new ball was due. On 35, Clark just couldn't resist, leaving his bat out to dry, while new man Kyle Jarvis drove his 3rd ball straight at Ian Cobain in the covers. That left Lancashire on 239 for 9, but the remainder of the day belonged to them. In at number 11, now aged 41 and playing in his first game of the season, the evergreen Glenn Chappell, Mr Lancashire, came out for a hit and quickly earned his side a second batting bonus point. He belted Taylor down the ground for a 6 as he made 29 off only 13 balls to take the total up to 275. He was left unbeaten when Bailey was bowled by Taylor for 30, his opening partner Miles, the pick of the home attack of course, with figures of 5 for 61. Gloucestershire would have been pleased with their work, but they then lost both openers in the 10 overs left in the day. Chris Dent edged Jarvis behind to go for a couple, while Will Tavares was legged before to Bailey for 4. These two bowlers both preferred to Chappell with the new ball. Miles, acting as night watchman, survived the final over of the day, and that means that Gloucestershire will resume on the second morning on 15 for 2, 260 runs adrift of their opponents. They will also await news of Roderick's injury.